President Bola Tinubu felicitates Muslims on the 2024 Eid al-Kabir celebration. Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC) flags off Inter-Agency Joint Task Force for the Eid al-Kabir celebration in Delta. And abroad, world leaders attend Ukraine Peace Summit. Good evening and welcome to the Delta Television News at 8. I am Ogaga Ikama. President Bola Tinubu has felicitated Muslims on celebrating the 2024 Eid al-Kabir, saying it denotes sacrifice, faith, and obedience to the will of the Almighty. President Tinubu urged Muslim faithful to reflect on the essence of the occasion, while he prayed that Allah accepts their supplications and acts of obedience. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Adrian Gelali, the president said the sacrifices and great expectations of citizens would not come to naught, as he urged Muslims to pray for peace in the country while celebrating with their families. President Tinubu assured Nigerians positive outcomes of his reforms to ease the current hardships Nigerians are experiencing. The Department of State Services (DSS) has advised Muslims in the country to be cautious while engaging in religious and social activities during the festive period, urging them to observe all necessary personal security procedures. A statement by the Director of Public Relations and Strategic Communications Department, Mr. Peter Afunanya, advised operators and patrons of malls, parks, and railway stations, among others, to ensure strict compliance with physical and other security measures required for public safety. Mr. Afunanya said the DSS would collaborate with other security agencies to protect lives and properties during and after the celebration. He felicitated Muslims across the country on the occasion of Eid al-Adha, noting that the event is significant for the opportunity it offers for prayers and celebrations, while it reminded them of the importance of faith, obedience, and generosity. Mr. Afunanya enjoined on citizens to emulate these characteristics as basis for national transformation and unity. It could be recalled that the federal government declared Monday, June 17 and Tuesday, June 18 as public holidays to mark this year's Eid al-Kabir celebration. The Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulated all Muslim Ummah, both at home and in the diaspora, on the occasion. Dr. Tunji-Ojo called on the Muslims to continue to imbibe the spirit of harmonious living and sacrifice, and use the periods to pray for unity, prosperity, and the stability of the country. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, ahead of the Eid al-Kabir, has issued a warning against bribes and extortion at airports nationwide, assuring travelers of a smooth journey. The Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Mrs. Obiageli Ora, who made this known in a statement, assured Nigerians of seamless travel, stating that measures have been taken to upgrade security apparatus to ensure the safety of lives and property. Mrs. Ora urged travelers to arrive at the airport early, 3 hours before departure for international travelers and 2 hours before departure for local travelers, to avoid missing their flights as well as to avoid rush. The Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection advised travelers to pack their luggages themselves and not to leave them unattended. Mrs. Ora noted that FAN had expanded the screening area in order to give passengers a better flying experience and more space to keep an eye on their valuables while passing through screening. The Delta State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC) Corps Commander Muftwa Adebayo has flagged off the Inter-Agency Joint Task Force to ensure hitch-free motoring during the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. Mr. Adebayo disclosed this while addressing journalists on the Corps preparedness for the Eid al-Kabir celebration. Henry Usiayo reports.
Mr. Adebayo said the FRSC will ensure the safety of road users at all times, just as special marshals would complement the regular marshals in enforcement and public enlightenment campaigns. He noted that the Corps had released an operational order to guide patrol and rescue operations in the state during the celebrations and had also outlined strategies in line with the operational guidelines issued by the FRSC National Headquarters.
It is therefore gratifying to state that drivers must combine the culture of course, civility, consideration for other visitors. They must learn to do the right thing at all times. Because as we have the right to use the road, so do others. As such, drivers must drive with consciousness that members of their family, friends, and loved ones are waiting for them at home.
The commandant appreciated the state government for its support, especially the construction of roads across the state, and appealed that dilapidated federal roads across the state be fixed to guarantee safety on the roads.
We will encourage the state government to, maybe by the time from what we are saying to FEMA, maybe we take it a bit higher, because even though the road is a federal road, it's not federal government that is passing there. Everybody is passing through that road. And the road does not recognize federal, state, or local.
The executive chairman of the Joint National Transport Safety Committee, Delta State Chapter, Mr. Armstrong Okoiso, in his remarks said the body will synergize with the FRSC in monitoring the activities of trailer and truck drivers. Mr. Armstrong stressed that trailer and truck drivers found carrying human beings or allowed passengers to hang on top of goods and animals will face the wrath of the law.
We are here to assist the road safety. We will work together to make sure that we bring safety in our road. In short, it's very devastating that when you see what the roads are, what the truck drivers are doing on the road. I cannot tell you what the trucks are doing. So we are trying to see how we can put them in check.
The event was attended by other sister security agencies in the state. Henry Usiayu reporting.
President Bola Tinubu has called for stronger collaboration between Nigeria's law enforcement agencies and the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) in the fight against cybercrime, terrorism, and other related crimes. President Tinubu made a call during a meeting with the FBI Director, Mr. Christopher Wray, at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The president said the presence of the FBI Director and his team in Nigeria was a recognition of the enduring partnership between Nigeria and the United States in the fight against financial crimes and terrorism, noting that no country could combat financial crimes in isolation. He called on the United States to support developing countries with the requisite technology and knowledge transfer to combat complex international crimes. The FBI Director, Mr. Christopher Wray, said he was in the country to enhance the outstanding partnership that exists between the federal government and the United States. Mr. Wray lauded President Tinubu for supporting the growing partnerships between various government agencies and the FBI to protect the citizens of both countries. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to adequately protect Nigeria's power infrastructures against vandals. The Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who said this at the inauguration of the second batch of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) mining marshals, noted that the ministry would collaborate with the Ministry of Power to stop power transmission and generation points vandalization. The minister said he would ensure that the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu to ensure the protection of critical infrastructure in all sectors was realized. Meanwhile, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Mr. Dele Alake, said the operations of illegal miners had displaced legitimate miners. Mr. Alake, who was represented by the ministry's permanent secretary, Dr. Mary Ogbe, said the integration of the federal mines officers and the marshals across states would sanitize the sector. The NSCDC Commandant General, Mr. Ahmed Aoudi, said the newly inaugurated 350 mining marshals would swing into action immediately, having undergone 8 weeks of intensive training. Mr. Aoudi said that safe legal mining operations would attract and encourage genuine local and foreign investors to engage in mining activities in Nigeria. The House of Representatives and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) have resolved to lift the ban on the sale and consumption of sachet alcoholic beverages in the country. The deputy spokesman for the House, Honorable Philip Agbese, who disclosed this after a meeting with stakeholders, said the lifting of the ban would end when the economy fully recovers from its current strain. Honorable Agbese, who represents Ado Agbadido Akpoku Federal Constituency, Benue State, said resolutions reached were based on the submissions made by the stakeholders, civil society organizations, and other interested parties. He noted that part of the recommendation was that the ban was not timely given the current economic realities, coupled with the 5-year moratorium granted by NAFDAC to the private sector, the advent of COVID-19, and other economic realities which does not permit the operators in the industry to comply with their terms. NAFDAC had banned the production of beverages in small sachets and bottles for reasons connected with the prevailing cases of drug abuse in the country, especially by some young Nigerians. It could be recalled that the House of Representatives had on February 7, 2024, mandated its committee on the NAFDAC to probe the circumstances surrounding the ban imposed on the production of alcoholic beverages in sachets and small bottles in Nigeria by the agency. This was sequel to a motion moved on the floor of the Green Chamber by Honorable Pascal Agbogidie and Honorable Philip Agbese during the plenary session. The Nigeria Police Force (NPF) has raised alarm over irregularities and alleged corruption in the recently released names of successful candidates in the ongoing 2022-2023 police constables recruitment exercise. In a statement signed by the NPF Public Relations Officer, Mr. Olumuyiwa Adejobi noted that Nigerians who never applied, candidates who failed the computer-based test, and those screened out due to medical reasons made it to the final list. It could be recalled that the Police Service Commission had on Tuesday, June 4, announced the approval and release of a list of 10,000 successful applicants for recruitment into the constable and specialist cadres. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Olukayode Ekpetokun, issued a letter of objection to the list on Monday, June 10, addressed to the chairman of the commission, citing the discovered irregularities. In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Ekpetokun, has cautioned officers soliciting for undeserved promotion. Mr. Ekpetokun gave the warning while decorating newly promoted top officers of the police force held in Abuja. He said most of the undeserving officers go through highly placed personalities to make their demands, noting that at the outset of this administration, there was suspension of the special promotions to ensure a fair, equitable and transparent promotion process. The IG stated that the decision would be reviewed and exceptions were deserved given, while noting that severe disciplinary action would be taken against any officer found guilty of soliciting undeserved promotions through illicit means and soliciting preferential posting. 10 Nigerian teenage girls recently rescued from Ghana have returned to Nigeria for comprehensive counseling and rehabilitation. In a series of videos that went viral on X.com on June 6, 2024, the young girls aged 15 to 18 were reported to have been lured into prostitution in Ghana. The rescue of the 10 trafficked Nigerian teenagers was reportedly conducted by the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM) in Ghana. The NIDCOM chairman, Abike Dabiri Erewa, said the girls arrived at the Lagos International Airport on Tuesday night, June 11, 2024, accompanied by representatives from the Imo State Governor's Office, including the Deputy Speaker and the Commissioner for Women Affairs, as well as staff from the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Upon arrival, the girls were received and profiled by officials from the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. They are now under the custody of the governments of the Imo and Plateau states, where they will undergo proper counseling and rehabilitation. Still to come on the news, world leaders attend Ukraine Peace Summit. Details of this and more coming up shortly. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on the news. The global scene is next as we join our world news desk.
More than 90 countries and global institutions have attended the Giant Peace Summit hosted by Switzerland in Bergenstock, aimed to discuss basic principles for ending the conflict in Ukraine. The Swiss hope that the Ukraine summit might produce the first tentative sketch marks for a peace process some 28 months after Russia invaded its neighbor. It is the biggest gathering for Ukraine since the full-scale invasion, but with key players like China staying away and Russian President Vladimir Putin issuing a new ultimatum demanding Ukraine's capitulation and calling that peace proposal expectation of significant progress was low. For Ukraine, the mere fact that this meeting is taking place is positive. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky at the opening of the event said that he believed the history being made at the summit has succeeded in bringing back to the world the idea that joint efforts can stop war and establish a joint peace. Politicians in Kyiv have been hailing every confirmed participant as a gesture of support. For them, the Giant Summit should demonstrate to Moscow that the world stands on the side of Ukraine and of international law. Meanwhile, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has pledged a $1.5 billion package of aid to Ukraine, mostly for the country's energy sector. The funding, announced at the Ukraine Peace Summit in Switzerland today, will help repair infrastructure damaged by Russian bombardment. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that half of the country's power-producing capacity had been destroyed in the war. He has called on Western countries to provide more air defenses to protect both energy infrastructure and urban population centers, and some have responded. Russian attacks on the power grid have forced energy companies to institute rolling blackouts. And in Africa, South Africa's parliament has re-elected Cyril Ramaphosa as the country's president following a landmark coalition deal between the governing African National Congress ANC and opposition parties. The new government of national unity combines Mr. Ramaphosa ANC, the Center-Right Democratic Alliance DA, and smaller parties. In his victory speech, Mr. Ramaphosa hailed the new coalition and said voters expected leaders to act and work together for the good of everyone in the country. The agreement was hashed out on a day of high political drama, which saw the National Assembly sitting late into the evening for a vote to confirm who would hold power in the new administration. Earlier, a deal was struck following weeks of speculation about whom the ANC would partner with after losing its parliamentary majority for the first time in 30 years in last month's elections. It got 40% of the vote, while DA came second with 22%. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula called the coalition a deal, a remarkable step. It meant Mr. Ramaphosa, who replaced Jacob Zuma as both president and ANC leader following a bitter power struggle in 2018, was able to retain power.
Moving now to the world of sports, where the head coach of the Super Eagles, Coach Finidi George, has resigned from his position. It was believed that Coach Finidi took the decision today, days after the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) announced moves to bring in a foreign technical advisor. His exit was confirmed by former Eagles media officer Tony Ibitoye on his X account. Coach Finidi was only appointed on April 29, 2024 to replace Jose Peseiro, whose contract expired in February. During his very brief tenure, the former Enyimba boss oversaw a 1-1 draw with South Africa and a 2-1 defeat to Benin Republic, both in the 2026 World Cup qualifying series. Christians have been advised to beware of the kind of life they live and also be kind to one another. This was the crux of the homily delivered by the parish priest of St. Charles Catholic Church, Ubuluku, Reverend Father Peter Enwawa, at a funeral mass held in honor of late Diopa Leonard Onwume. Henry Usiayo reports.
Reverend Father Enwawa, in his homily, enjoined Christians to imbibe the virtue of love and kindness as exemplified by Jesus Christ. He charged believers not to be afraid of doing good to everyone, as the souls of the righteous are in the hands of God. The clergyman emphasized that there is a life on earth, which is human life, and eternal life, which is a life in heaven, when someone lived right with God. Reverend Father Inuawan said that the kind of life one lives on earth will determine where they will spend their eternity, and urged the deceased family to live a life worth emulating, just like their late father lived.
And so we call upon people to live a holy life, prepare for the day of death, because that's a reality, so that day when we die, God also welcome us with those words of cry, welcome my son, my daughter, for what you have been able to do by living a good life, by following my commandments, then come to the eternal joy that the Father has prepared for you.
The remains of the late Jiopa Onweme was later interred at his residence. The children of the deceased, his siblings, in an interview described their late father as a disciplinarian who imparted on them the virtue of love and hard work.
Most important of all, his greatest attribute, and a very positive one at that, was his firm belief and trust in the Almighty God.
My dad was such a loving and caring father, a disciplinarian to the core, a God-fearing man, and very caring.
But one major good thing I know him of is a disciplinarian who always guides us, always guiding us from not being a bad child.
I will miss him for his kind-heartedness, for his gentility and love. He was a very caring elderly brother. Yes. I will miss him so much for all those qualities.
Very caring, a disciplinarian. In fact, very kind and gentle man. I pray that Almighty God will grant him eternal rest.
Friends and well-wishers also gave words of advice to the family of the deceased.
They should maintain his legacies and ensure that they keep the flag of the family flying at all times. They have to come together as one. They must live as one family. They should not allow whatever that has happened during the burial ceremony to separate them.
A reception was later held for guests at the deceased compound as children of the deceased took to the dance floor. The funeral was attended by staff of the Delta Broadcasting Service, DBS Asaba. Henry Usiayu reporting.
Next is the thought for the day. The mind is not a dustbin to keep anger, hatred, and jealousy, but it's a treasure box to keep love, happiness, and sweet memories. To end the news, here again are the main points. President Bola Tinubu has felicitated Muslims on celebrating the 2024 Eid al-Kabir, saying it denotes sacrifice, faith, and obedience to the will of the Almighty. President Tinubu urged Muslim faithful to reflect on the essence of the occasion, while he prayed that Allah accept their supplications and acts of obedience. The Delta State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC, Corps Commander Mufta Adebayo, has flagged off the Interagency Joint Task Force to ensure hitch-free motoring during the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. Mr. Adebayo disclosed this while addressing journalists on the Corps preparedness for the Eid al-Kabir celebration. And abroad, more than 90 countries and global institutions have attended the Giant Peace Summit hosted by Switzerland, aimed at discussing basic principles for ending the conflict in Ukraine. That's the news. Thank you so much for watching. I am Ogaga Ekama. Good evening.
Nigeria.